Hi, so on today's video I'm going to show you my 2023 setup. Last year was my first year using Hobonichi books, and as you'll see, particularly in the first few months of the year, it took me a good while to kind of find my rhythm with everything, but by the end I think I was pretty much settled, pretty much comfy, albeit I mean I'll go into more detail in a few minutes, but the weeks for me largely felt like duplication of what I had in the cousin. So a good place to start I think might be just explaining what I used for what the original sort of intentions were. So at the top we've got the Hobonichi Weeks, and this is the milk tea soft cover. When I first got it, I got it with the cover on, and it was this sort of sky in the night cover, I think it was, with sort of blues and purples and stuff. I also got a plain cover because I figured I wouldn't necessarily sort of want that background, that visual all the time. And later in the year I added this gloomy sticker on the top, and then I'd have the plastic cover on top. Now I've archived this, it doesn't necessarily need to be in that, and it's one of those things. I put the plastic cover on obviously to protect this and to make sure it didn't get too scuffed, because it is quite a pale colour. But this does feel lovely, and it's almost a shame that I didn't use it as is for a little bit of the year. But anyway, next up, I'll put that there. This is a moleskine notebook, just with sort of dotted pages. I picked it up at a TK Maxx. I can't remember if I mentioned this in the last video or not, but something that may well crop up time and time again is I'm a bit of a collector when it comes to notebooks. So it is just one of those things where for a while, every time I go into TK Maxx, if I saw anything half decent, I pick it up thinking, well, that'll come in useful at some point. And now I've got a bit of a, I suppose, stock of my own, where if I want to change planners, if I finish a notebook, then I've always got something to hand. The sticker is one from Redbubble. I'm not too sure who the original artist is, but this was my Commonplace book. I'd always commonplaced in a roundabout way, but I didn't know what the term was, and I would sort of have things quite fragmented. So skipping ahead slightly, but you know, with my key I would have different books for different interests. So I'd have one on mycology, I'd have one about astrology, and everything was sort of fragmented, and I'd be able to access it. I also sort of kept notes digitally, but I always felt like I'd complete, you know, a third of a notebook and then move on to a different interest, or I'd come away from an interest for a while and feel like I'd wasted the book. Whereas commonplacing, I'm kind of keeping everything in one place, just really made a lot of sense for me. So I started commonplacing in here last year, and then the cousin. This was great. I had this originally in the green Velluto case from Hobonichi, but very quickly, and you can see sort of how thick this ended up getting, very quickly this got too thick for that case really. So I used one that I found on Etsy, which was just a faux leather in like a tan sort of colour, sort of a pebbled faux leather. I should have got that out, but I haven't, but never mind, you can picture it. So let's start with the weeks and work our way through. So we've got gloomy on the front. We've got a couple of stickers here. So this is sort of like, forgetting the word, try something. I found this in a shop in Manchester that does a lot of esoteric goods. This is a dog sticker. I found it on Redbubble, but the original artist is Yoshitomi Nara. I've got a small envelope on here with a couple of stickers. I would use the Hobonichi pocket, but I found this really useful just to put loose stickers in, sometimes receipts, that sort of thing. Couple more stickers. So these two are the Elixon. This is a Megan Rhiannon one. This is a Paper Show one. Yeah, the sort of stickers and things I put on, I kind of would add bits throughout the year rather than decorating for the book kind of in advance. And I like that way of doing things. It's very much the approach that I've taken in the A6 this year. And I like that, you know, I think as things are added, they're linked to memories. So for example, this one from Manchester, it was a trip to Manchester in, I don't know, maybe the April, May time. So I think of that trip when I see it. A couple more here. So this is from a tattoo artist called Holly Ashby, who's in Birmingham, that I go to. These two are Redbubble stickers. These pages, you know, I hadn't used, so it's quite comfy just sort of using them in this way. I started on these pages mood tracking, and I got to the 12th of January, so good going there. I'm mood tracking in the A6, and I've been far more consistent with it. And then my calendar pages are calendar pages. So I'll flip through the next three of these just so you can see the decoration. The decoration I did in these didn't vary that much. I would tape over the sort of extraneous days from the previous month and the next month, and then generally I'd keep it quite seasonal or quite on theme. So like here I've got this sort of Northern Lights tape. This was a freebie with something else I ordered, so I wouldn't know the name of this or anything. And then I've got these sort of woodland type stickers here. It's weird looking at a December spread and not seeing anything very Christmassy, but hey ho, that must have just been the vibe at that point in time. Okay, so I flicked through them but it got me thinking as I went through. The pages got barer and barer with time, and I think it's probably because what I would do after the end of the month, or maybe, you know, a good few weeks into the month, is kind of go through and, I suppose, backfill or put additional stickers in when I know, okay, this date's passed, nothing's happened on that date, and I can, you know, put a stamp on it or whatever it might be. But what I found with time is I was doing that, but then I would turn over to the next month, so I wasn't enjoying or seeing those things. So as time went on, I did take a bit more of a minimal approach to it. I quite like this little bit of decoration here where I've got, you know, the sort of pinky purple underneath and then the grid. It was very much a practical space. This was my book that I would take out and about with me everywhere. I quite like the layering I've done with this bit of decoration here. Yeah, and the same again here. Almost like a little collage in itself. I like October. This is cute with the sort of spooky stickers. And I moved into the A6 as quickly as I could, just because I did end up with some frustrations working across the two books. So this is fairly minimal, and so is December and the rest of the month. It was still nice to do the little bit of tape. I still used it when I had, you know, blood tests and things like this. Yeah, I'd done, you know, some Christmassy tape for December, but because I was already in the A6, this has stuff in that I knew was happening in advance, but then I didn't add anything particularly through the month because I was in the A6. I'd sort of decorated for January, didn't need to, Feb, March. And then we start with the weekly spreads. I think I said daily earlier on. It's the morning time. I'm a little bit sleepy. Something that I pretty consistently did with the weeks is I would split this page at some point. So sometimes it'd be the first third or the last third. Here I went straight down the middle. Often it's a to-do list and some sort of habit tracking. To look at this now, this is so ugly to me. But I didn't really know how the different pens that I own would work with this. One thing I remember feeling and thinking once I laid down these set of stickers is I need to go way smaller. I was approaching it as though it was an A5 size, which was just not going to work. There's nice memories in here still, nice trips, but it feels very chaotic. I also used stamps a little bit in the early days, and I have a couple of really nice stamps, but just lack the patience in terms of waiting things to dry. So I'm going to hopefully use some stamps this year. I haven't yet. Again, it's just that patience thing and thinking, right, you've laid down that stamp, walk away, for 10 minutes before you do anything else, because I have a lot of smudging and things like this that I think largely I've covered up, but we'll see. So I'll flick through, and then if anything sort of stands out to me, I'll just chat to you again. Yeah, again, massive, massive stickers, and I remember I messed up whatever I'd written on the 6th and the 7th, because I had a trip to London, and I wanted the train times and stuff here. I'd messed it up, covered it up with this massive tape, and then tried to write on the tape with a normal pen, and it just wasn't having it. So then it's this massive writing, massive tape, just not great at all, really. I do get happier and happier with it as it goes on, I must say. So here I've got like a to-do list, and I just feel like I didn't make full use of the page, although yeah, I quite like this collage. Again, stickers that are linked to memories I like. So this is from Choosing Keeping in London. This was from the trip that I'd taken the previous week down to London. So that's a nice thing to have. Again, using really quite big bits of paper and stuff when I mess up. So like this didn't get as chunky as the cousin, but still quite chunky for weeks really, and this is a big contributor. See, this, I feel like I started getting in my comfort zone with it, and I also started tracking the media that I was sort of engaging with at that time. So the book I've got, what I'm listening to, yeah, the stuff I'm washing as well. Yeah, this was a weird idea that I trialed briefly, where I think it was that I would fill out a quarter of this box for every 2 glasses of water that I drank. But visually, it just kind of looks naff, and I didn't find it that helpful in reality. And here I tried doing a to-do list for each day. So at this point in the year, I was getting myself ready for an operation that I was having at the end of March. So I had a pre-op appointment and this sort of thing, and I just felt that need to really break down everything to like the more of a granular level, just to make sure everything was sorted in my head. This being said, the week that I went away and had the operation, it's just one big to-do list, and everything pretty much is prepping for that day. And this is not at all linked, but I did love this sticker where it's the cat in the suitcase with the bits and pieces. And I was like, I'm the cat packing to go on my trip to have the surgery. I really like how I've laid the stickers and stuff on this one. And what I'll say about the next few weeks is I am recovering from this surgery. So the to-do lists are very minimal. It's, I'm going to read, I'm going to decorate, I'm going to do some commonplacing, because I was just on the sofa and couldn't really move at that point. Also, it means that I'm consuming a lot of media because I can't do anything. I read quite a few books in these few weeks, which was handy. It also meant I did use big bits of decoration because I really wasn't doing very much at all. For some reason, the media section sort of disappeared. I guess there was just a point in time when maybe I wasn't engaging with that much media, or I just didn't feel like it was that important to track it, but it comes and goes. Yeah, it's come back here, and I've arranged it slightly differently. I think this sort of approach was inspired by Bronte. Again, I quite like the layering I've got here. And I liked sort of experimenting with using different pens for these headings, different styles of handwriting that weren't necessarily my natural handwriting styles. Well, I did the mood tracking this week, kind of, using these face stickers. It didn't really have any effect, but it looks quite cute. The colour's nice. Yeah, I tried tracking what I was doing in terms of my artwork. Was it just this 1 week? Maybe just this 1 week. Clearly it wasn't very effective because it didn't go down well. It was quite a busy week, to be fair. Oh yeah, here I tried splitting sort of habits that I want to try and keep on top of and encourage versus the daily tasks I know I've got to go through. I kind of have compressed this now. So for instance, I try and make sure I read every day, exercise of some description every day, eat well every day. So I think sometimes for me, splitting things up means that there's a difference between what I know I have to do. I know I have to shower. I know I have to take my medication and this sort of thing. Habits are like, great if you do it, not the end of the world if you don't. So I went to and fro with doing that sort of thing. I like the decoration on this page. This blue and brown in my head I don't feel like necessarily go together, but then when I see it together I like it, so I need to remember that. Yeah, and I at this point, I'm not too sure why, did daily to-do lists in here. I'm not too sure why I did that exactly. It looks like it was practical, it looks like it was helpful, but it does look very full, which isn't necessarily the vibe that I've always had in here. Yeah, did it the following week. Oh, look at these. I'm enjoying, I didn't even spot this at the sort of beginning of October, but I'm enjoying the, like, here's a hint of Halloween, here's a little bit more Halloween, and then by this week it's just like, yeah, we're enjoying this. This one's a nice spread, I think. And into November. And then I think this is probably going to start tailing off because I was excited about the A6. Yeah, this is very much just like a very practical, scribbled it in advance, migrating to the A6 as of this week, and then nothing. So yeah, do I do anything? No, these are blank. So let's go to the notes. This is the notes section. Initially I did a bit of a contents page here. I abandoned it. I got some pet tape as a freebie when I ordered from Miso Paper. So I was like, great, pop that on there. I started with a few collections or lists. Largely they were semi-helpful. I don't know. I've not replicated it, so that says something. So wish list. So I try to make sure that I don't spend money impulsively. So I would pop it down on the list, give it some time. If I was still wanting it after a number of weeks, then often I would get it. Or if it was a case of someone asking me what a gift I might want for my birthday, I'm really rubbish at answering that question off the top of my head. So this was something I could reference if that question ever came up. Gift ideas, again, like these are 2 pages and I've barely used them. Post I'm waiting for and post tracking. This was useful, this comes up a few times, and this is definitely something I replicate. Again, a wish list, I don't know why I repeated myself with that. Post tracking. Again, gift ideas is duplicated for some reason. A list of stationery shops. This was definitely an idea that I lifted from Bronte. For me, I remember these things. If I want to buy some washi, if I want to buy some stickers, I know where I'm going. You know, there's nothing wrong with this list, but it didn't really help. It wasn't practical. I did make a note of discount codes. So the discount codes, you know, you go on a website, they say, hey, get 10% off your next order. Usually I'd forget about those things. So it was handy to have them here. Some trackers, I thought to myself, so I saw Nike Dorrington on Instagram, how she approaches her journals, and she does a lot of trackers like this. She'll lay out the month and do it that way. I thought to myself, maybe I'd give it a go, and I think the 02 means February. I started it, gave up on it. I think because it was tucked away in the notes, it just wasn't in my face enough for me to remember to do it. Post tracking, God. Seeing all this makes me think, gosh, I've like bought a lot of stuff. And one of the reasons, so I'm now tracking it in the My 100, and I'm going to try and make it that, you know, I buy less than 100 things. That's the idea. Yes, so quite early on in the year, I was like, right, I'm going to start thinking about how I want my 2024 setup to work, what has worked well for me in this setup, what's not working, what do I want to keep track of. So that's what these pages are. And I think as well, you know, as I was inspired by people through the year, I want to make a note of what I saw and how I thought it might be helpful. I've made some sort of mistake because I've got 2 pages stuck together here. Right, yes, so as of July, I think in my cousin, I'll have a look in a minute, I had been keeping a daily to-do list, but then the problem I encountered is because my cousin stayed at home and this came out with me, if I thought of something while I was out and about that I needed to do, it would be gone, or I'd be putting it in my phone, which is a bit like, well, what's the point in having an analog system if you're just using your phone? So I switched to keeping daily to-do lists in here. So just write the date, highlight it, to-do list, next day, next day. And this was a really practical space, and then now and again I would add a couple of stickers in. So, but this is the problem, it's sort of like interrupted with other things, so it's kind of messy. More post tracking, here's some of the to-do lists. Yeah, and having the column helped, because if I needed to make additional notes, I could. For a while I used this date stamp, you know, a bit like you might get at a post office or something, but this got very smudgy very quickly, so I do it for a few pages and then I abandoned it. Post tracking again, yeah, Christmas presents, packing list for a holiday, to-do list that was for across a weekend, and then notes about calls I've had with doctors and that sort of thing, which is helpful. This packing list I feel like is handy for me to reference anytime I go away somewhere. Often I'll rewrite the list and start from scratch, and it's a bit like, well, I've already kind of got a pre-made one here, albeit I'd adjust it because this was a walking holiday. So, you know, I don't always need hiking boots, for example. And we've got some more to-do lists here. Christmas party. So my partner and I hosted a Christmas party, and I wanted to make sure everything was prepped. So that was for that. Some more to-do lists, some more post tracking, and then it disappears. And then at the very end, again, I'm trying to habit track and see, actually, from what I've put here, how consistent am I? And I wanted the visual of the month. This is such a mess. But hey, we live and we learn. I've not replicated it particularly. So yeah, I drew it up for each month and never used it. And at the end, lessons for 2024 planning, minimal approach, best on weeks, tiger fountain pen is rubbish, and so on. And another sticker from Holly Ashby Tattoos. And then we've got these last couple of pages here that I didn't use. And then a Redbubble sticker there. And, oh yeah, okay, so this, the Lovers tattoo, so a tarot. Gosh, I've not even put that down straight. This was from the same shop in Manchester that I got the first sticker on. This Transjoyous Magic one is from a shop based in Brighton. I can't remember the artist's name off the top of my head, but I will reference them below. They've got a shop. So next up is the moleskine that I use for commonplacing. I didn't finish this book, and really I could have just carried on using this into this year. I didn't need to start a new commonplace because of the new year, but I had a notebook I wanted to use, so I did do that. I am using these pages for weekly layouts. I think I might have mentioned this in last week's video, so that's what this is now for. But for a good chunk of time, this was the commonplace. Oh yeah, so this was nice actually to start with. I should have printed it bigger and not just on the thermal, but I'm not sure what this is originally for, but I saw it on Tumblr and it's some screen caps, and it felt like it fitted this book well. So no matter how small, I don't know if you can see that, no matter how small, niche and insignificant something might seem, the very act of researching or spending time with or caring for it imbues it with meaning to you and the people you share it with, which, like, how great is that for commonplacing and journaling and this sort of stuff. You know, for a long time I put off talking about this stuff, filming this stuff, because I feared that people around me would find it frivolous or silly, or, you know, it's just paper. But for me and for a lot of people, it's not just paper. So I like that, and it's, you know, I think it's a good quote to have here. I think I'm going to write this down actually in my current commonplace, because just reading that aloud made me go a bit like fuzzy. Okay, so I started off, hello, setting out my intentions for the book, a couple of stickers, and I set out a key. Now I think this might be something that I revise. I've got a very similar key in my current one, but I think what I might do at some point is look at what the topics are that I talk about or the themes and base it around that. Dozy Ghoul recently showed their Commonplace, and they recently sort of switched to that approach. So, you know, it might be politics, it might be love, it might be definitions and things. So I quite like that idea. So I've got copy text and quotes, creative ideas and planning, mental health and affirmations, special interest notes, and miscellaneous personal notes. So let's have butchers. Okay. I saw Tom Rosenthal in December, not last year, but the year before. And for weeks afterwards, the set list was just like in my head. I was so sort of had this like residual excitement from it. So I just wrote, okay, this is the title. This is how it made me feel. And it was almost, catharsis is the wrong word because catharsis is like getting rid of a bad thing. But it was just so good to exude it and say the stuff about it. And then we've got some quotes towards the end here. So let's make some progress. Saw the Muppets live in concert. Wherever you see these squares, this is a tarot reading that I'll have done, a tarot spread of some sort. This was for when my desk was due to arrive and planning where I'd put it. I have moved it around in here a few times since. The current position I think is the best because it's got the shelves above, which is really handy. Oh yeah, this was probably about the middle of the year when I was really starting to have strong feelings about my use of the weeks and the cousin and how that wasn't fully working for me at that point. And I was really being drawn to this idea of everything in one book, and the idea of using the Hobonichi for commonplacing and planning and memory keeping. And at the time, around the same time, Megan of Megan Rhiannon was in his very seemed to be in a very sort of similar mindset. So there's a few screenshots from that video, and I was just sort of thinking, how would I make use of it? How would I sort of adapt that for my approach? It's not what I ended up doing in the end anyway, but it's interesting looking back about what my frustrations were, how I was trying to work problems out, and the sort of influence I was taking, but then me thinking, right, how do I make this my own? How do I make this fit my life? Yeah, here I'm trying to fix what I'm doing in terms of the weeks. Planner thoughts for 2024. So this was really when I was landing on the idea of the A6, and I really like the size of the A6 as well. It's so convenient for taking out and about. I had for a long time been eyeing up one of the spring releases for the case that I would use, but when it came down to it, a lot of people fed back that the print that was on it would sort of flake away and come away, and I just couldn't be doing with any of that, so I didn't. Again, more 2024 thoughts, and this is me going, right, I think I might have finally settled on what to do next year. And this was in maybe September, so quite early, but the releases were starting to come out, so I guess that makes sense. So I decided on the Avec. I was like, yep, happy with the Japanese version, and here's what I'm going to do. And I think so far I'm pretty much sticking to this. I mean, it is still January, so I don't know why I'm like so far, but hey ho. Yeah, doing this. This was black because it's a thermal printer, but this is a navy cover, you know, the traditional one with the pen loops in. I do have this in addition to my Have a Nice Day one. I tend to use the navy one, and I've got the sort of plastic cover over that. That is if I'm staying somewhere overnight, because it's got the pockets, which mean I can put stickers and things in there, but also it's just a bit more hardy, it's just a bit more durable. If I was to spill something in my bag, I would be mortified, but it would be probably that little bit less distressing. That's the idea. This and the next couple of pages, I never used to watch scary or horror films particularly, even though I was always sort of drawn to the themes and the characters and this sort of thing. So last sort of Halloween time, I was like, right, I'm gonna watch some like classic, solid Halloweeny scary films. So I documented that a bit. I would say The Exorcist was my favourite of the lot. Like, I think about this film a lot, and it really, the atmosphere of it really like clung to me. So yeah, that was a highlight. But just to highlight what the next couple of pages were, I had quite a bit of fun writing about these films. Conjuring, again, something about possession and that idea really makes me it's more of a visceral experience for me compared to, you know, a guy wielding a knife. Obviously, that would be horrific if it happened in reality, but in terms of the atmosphere of the film, it's just something about possession films that really gets me. Okay, these are screenshots from, and I'd like recommend it. Again, it's December when this happens, but very cool. The York Ghost Merchants last year and the year before have this James Swanton. He does an hour-long version of A Christmas Carol, and he acts out all the characters and stuff like that. It's like really like creepy, really engaging, really cool. And I've done that and watched him do that the last couple of years. And for whatever reason, each December I get kind of fixated on A Christmas Carol. Like, I'll read it a bunch, I'll watch a few different adaptations, I'll tear it apart, I'll start looking into Dickens, even though I don't like anything else that Dickens has ever written. Sorry, that's probably a weird opinion to have, but Christmas Carol, for whatever reason, really like, yeah, clings to my bones sort of thing. Yeah, okay, and then this is when the commonplacing comes to an end, and I start on my weekly spreads in here. So I'll put this to the side. So the cousin, the chunk. What you might see is that there's a fair bit that is duplicated across the cousin compared to the weeks, and that's one of the reasons I started falling out of love with this system, particularly the calendar pages. I was writing things up twice. Now I do have some memory issues, so it's sort of helpful from that point of view, but it got tiresome after a while. So there's a lot of good stuff in here as well. I'm not complaining, but yeah, let's go. Let's start. Oh, stickers. So this is a Redbubble sticker. This is from Bujo Journals, but I don't think they do stickers anymore. And then this is another Yoshito Monaro one. These are from Redbubble. This is from, I can't remember their name, but it's a foraging-based Etsy shop. I have this sticker, and I have the same thing again as a print, and then they've got a few zines as well, which are really good. Stranger in the Alps. This is a Gloomy from Megan. This is one of Megan's stickers. And then this I got from, like, you know those sticker packs where you get like 50 sort of stamp size stickers? That's from that. Oh, this is ended up looking a bit weird. This is one from Redbubble, but it's a I'm forgetting everything this morning, but I have, this is a t-shirt and a bunch of other of this person's artwork on t-shirts. Stay Weird, this was a freebie from somebody. I would not say this is sort of my style normally, but I was like, yeah, sod it, I'll pop it in. This was a sticker that I had stuck to me during Brighton Trans Pride, so this is very much like a strong memory one. These are Lee Ellickson stickers. This is from Ellis Archer, who's a tattoo artist based in the Midlands, Pusheen. And then this is a Redbubble one, but it's a shot from Spirited Away, you know, when they're on the train going over the water. I made this sort of mood board thing, almost like what I wanted to manifest in that year. I wouldn't say like it fully happened. It's weird though. There was in 22, it's very much about like spending quite a lot of time in the garden and out in nature and all that good stuff. Last year, I spent a lot more time indoors and being a recluse sort of thing. Like, I think because my journaling and stuff was such a big thing for me last year, I didn't get outside as much, so I want to try and be a bit more balanced this year. But these Ram Dass quotes and shots from his book, those were always good to come back to. Those were really grounding. So there's a benefit here, there's a pro, and it was a good way to cover up those sort of calendar pages that I don't know anyone that uses those. So it's a good way to cover those up. These Calendex pages really I didn't use. At the beginning of the year or maybe late 22, I put in key things, so summer solstice, spring bank holiday, that kind of thing, but really I didn't utilise these very much at all. And then we get into the calendar spread. So I had a lot of fun with the decoration on these, and I'll flick through in a moment. I'd sometimes put a quote in. Again, this is like wintry but not super Christmassy, so that's interesting to see. And I would often put highlights down the side, so seeing that Tom Rosenthal gig, seeing the Christmas Muppets, that sort of thing. So I'll flick through in very much in the same way as I did with the weeks. I like this layering here. I don't know why I didn't write up the highlights. Did I miss that before? I don't know. I enjoy the spookiness. I've started using this key as well, which then transferred to me using stickers. But the different coloured dots is a handy way of doing it as well, as long as I've got those things on me. November and December. So I think the thing that really stands out looking at those, and then, yeah, January and so on's blank, is I wasn't utilising the space that much, really. Like, I feel like this would have been better as like a memory a day or a drawing a day or something like that. It makes me really glad that I'm in the smaller size, because that feels so much more manageable now, and each page is looking a bit more sort of packed out now. So let's go through these. And then on to the weeklies. Now, I never knew really how to use these properly, and they look really messy to me now, but we are where we are. And it's weird because now I'm doing spreads like this. It's like, why did I not have the idea? Or why didn't I don't know. Why didn't it not occur to me to do this on these? Because that would have made so much more sense. It's fine. But there were certain weeks where I feel like I really struggled with this. It felt like a chore to do. By like the middle of the year, I just abandoned it altogether. So let's go through. It was a nice opportunity to use some stickers up, but I just never felt like I got on well with this. I would call it memory keeping. So on a Sunday or maybe early into the following week, I would go back using my daily pages to say, right, this is what happened and when, and decorate accordingly. I don't know. I just didn't really get on with it. And particularly because I work full time. So most of these are like work, 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 maybe one or two things at the weekend. Yeah, it could have been better. So let's see. Yeah, here we go. Work, work, work. I would sometimes track my steps. That's kind of handy. I'm doing that now in my health book. I don't know why I went so full on with this tape either. It's a bit... some of these are cute. Like, I use these dot stickers from Paper Chase, rest in peace. So some of these do look nice, and I feel like the Paper Chase stickers are really good in these spaces, but I don't know. I think these look best at this period of time. So this is when I was recovering from surgery, and I tried doing to-do lists. Again, probably not like the best use of the space, but at least I was filling out a bit, and I was having a lot of fun with the decoration as well. Because again, I was sitting on my sofa, couldn't get up, so I was like, I'm gonna draw lots and I'm gonna write lots. So that's what I did. Yeah, I did a lot of to-do lists on here, but again, the problem with doing any sort of to-do list or planning really in this book for me was I wasn't taking it out and about with me. So once I'd recovered from the surgery and I was back out, I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing with myself. I can't add anything. So yeah, I did use this to-do list quite a lot. I'd sort of forgotten that I'd done it, but I switched from having my to-do list, let's show, skipping ahead, rather than having my to-do list here, I just transferred it to here. I was trying to make use of it, still trying to keep it practical because the memory keeping thing just wasn't working. And here I would sort of split it. So I would have my morning things that I had to do, and then my evening things that I had to do, and then everything else in the middle. Those were quite a good way to visualise the time. I'll give myself that. Yeah, and I sort of did the evening one here. And I did this for a few weeks. It was okay. It was semi-useful. I quite like using these dot stickers for it, and I like the layering here. Again, these dots are quite nice. Also help me kind of fill the space out a little bit. I went really spooky this week, even though it was July. Who'd have thought? This was when I went back to memory keeping again, and I was like, do you know what? I do not have to fill out every centimetre of this thing. If I have gaps, it's not the end of the world, but I was still using bits of decoration to help it feel balanced and fairly symmetrical. And I'm not that into the Coffee Monster stuff. Again, not, you know, digging on anyone that does like it, but I bought a kit. I was like, let's give it a go, let's give it a whirl, and it was handy for, you know, sort of bulking out this space a little bit. So this has got a nice, you know, reading book-based theme, which is quite cute. Yeah, that was used very sparingly. It's so strange looking at some of these, you know, because like I hate most of the colours in this. I don't know. I think it was the case of, you know, you buy a pack of washi, or you buy a pack of whatever, and you just kind of end up with odds and sods that you don't particularly like, but I feel bad about wasting them or not using them. I suppose what, you know, the weekly spreads was my place to kind of use up the things that I didn't like as much as the primary thing or the main thing I'd bought them for. And in fairness, that's kind of what I'm doing again with the weekly spreads in here. But actually, like, I don't know, I feel like these feel very different for me. I'm not sure why, but anyway, let's carry on. Yeah, it looks like I went very minimal with this, and I was just like, bang, 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 here's the stuff, here's a little bit of decoration. And then it looks like by the weekend, I was just like, you know what, I can't be bothered with this anymore. I decorated for this week, but it didn't happen. And then I'd abandoned these pages at this point. There are these paper shy stickers here because what I'd done is ahead of time, for each time we were going into each season, so, you know, Leo season, Virgo, Sagittarius, etc., I put those there as a reminder to myself. So these then remain blank. I'm just going to even like skip way ahead because you don't need to see all these. Okay, so we're going to get into the dailies in just a second. Here's the turning the page for a new year. Here's a gloomy that Megan did, and I really, this is adorable. I just love it. And a couple of quotes about going into the new year, which were quite nice as well. Often on this first page, I would put myself some goals. This later changed and I do mood boards now, but the goals was a good way to do it. And for a good long time, I would do my to-do list at the side and daily journaling here, pretty standard. And then I mix it up as time goes on. I went very full on with the decoration as well, which is probably why this thing is as thick as it is, but it's all part of the process. Into February, more goals. Put it on this not post it, but this note page from Jeannie J, I think, with the mushrooms on. That's nice. feel like these couple of days is potentially worth showing. I really like this as a whole. I love the layering I've got here. This was March, so really, I don't know why I was so spooky, but embracing it. This was the day before and the day of my surgery, so it's so weird to think that like I was structured enough, regimented enough, whatever, to even journal on a day when I had like pretty major surgery. So I had some post arrive in the morning. This is a receipt from the pizza place that we went to before. This is a photograph of outside the window where I had my operation. And it's also like, I'm not going to show you the detail of that day, but it was so interesting reading back on that day on reflection. Yeah, important day. I like the layering here. This tape, my friend Charlotte got me like a get well soon card, and that was on the envelope, but it was still very sticky, so it's great to be able to reuse it. I like this spread a lot, so Bronte did a de-stash and got this little note from her. I also had a post from Megan that day, so it was a good post day. So a few collagey bits came, and I actually, so some of the stickers and things came to me as part of that de-stash. So I actually sort of went back and filled out a few gaps and things. So a lot of those stickers then go on to feature in the next few pages. Yeah, it looks like I stopped doing the to-do lists around this time as well in here. So I think this must be when I moved to putting them on the week spreads, but I'd not got so far as putting them in the notes pages. Where are we? In the notes pages back here. So there was a fair bit, even though I stayed in the same books, I feel like I changed things around quite a lot. It's weird, these spaces just looking like really bland and really kind of naked. If I didn't put anything there, I kind of changed my approach after a while. This was cool. This was when we went to Manchester. So this day, my partner and I went and volunteered at a community garden. There was some beautiful flowers and things. And then this day we went to Manchester, and I bought, yeah, Grin was the shop where I got those stickers that I mentioned. Queerlit was also good to have a look at. Some more pictures from our Manchester trip. Went to London, must have, to go to the London Graphic Centre, amongst other things. Yeah. Oh yeah, so I stayed with my friend Sean overnight, and then we went to London for the day. Cool. Tracking some weightlifting I was doing. I say tracking, I did it once, so, you know. These ones look really bare. Like, I think I must have sort of fallen out of love with the cousin at some point for a while, because this is, yeah, bare. And these daily entries aren't very long either. Yeah, around this time I started doing like themes for the week. So like, you know, I'd done the grey and the yellow tape for a while, and then I've got the navy and the black and white grid for a while, and I quite like having that, like, in my head I'd be able to visualise it as, oh, this is the blue week, this is the red week, whatever it might be. This is a nice note from my partner. I don't know if she knows that I stuck that in, but there we go. Yeah, from pretty much, yeah, June onwards, which is earlier than it feels in my head. I just started writing straight across the page after a while. Waterstones. Oh yeah, so I have an art shop, and I ordered some prints, and I have them for sale. I should link that. I'll link that in my description. So I use Printwork for it. The great quality prints. So that's just from the label. Science Museum trip. I must have gone to London 2 or 3 times last year. I've sort of forgotten that. Some more pictures from London. Wrote a few gratitude things. I don't know how long I kept this up for, but it was good to do. The previous year, I'd used a book from Typo, and I kept a list of, I would make myself write down sort of 3 things I was grateful for each day, and then at the end of each month it would be like this mega list of things I was grateful for, and then by the end of the year it was this huge list of things I was grateful for. And that was a nice exercise to do. I've not kept up with that, but it's definitely beneficial. I started tracking health information, so very similar information to what I track in my Hana book now, but I use the sort of the margin column to do that for a bit. Well, this was Brighton Pride. We went to the art box. And then for some reason I stopped doing the health tracking. July, this was my first Halloween shop in TK Maxx, so I felt the need to pop that in there. I read Existing Autistic. That was a good day, useful. Gosh, that's big. Oh yeah, so August I switched to like a mood board instead of setting goals. My goals that I'd set in the past were never that full on or intense, but it always kind of felt like pressure. So having a nice visual of what I want to, I suppose, manifest or things I'm focusing on, that was better for me. The Hobonichi releases were starting to come up. I was eyeing up this cat cover for a while, and it is a very nice cover. I think that would have been like my second choice behind the Have a Nice Day one. Another mood board for September, and I climbed Snowdon, so we've got a few here that are sort of like mountain based. Clearly like excited for that trip. My Hobonichi order arrived, and so did, I got a advent calendar, but it was for Halloween. And it was different teas in it from Bird and Blend, so that was a good day. Okay, so here's the Wales trip as well. So photo on the beach, our view, some pictures from the mountain. Yeah, some more bits. Gosh, that's faded a lot already. We went on a forest walk, we had dinner. October, very ready for Halloween. I was trying to use the tape in different ways as well, because the bottom was very thick, so I was trying to, spread things out a bit. Some tapes that I got, these were actually from the range. They're half decent, they're okay. Some Halloween shopping, and we went to Pumpkin Patch the next day. Oops. November, lots of reading, bit of rain, another tattoo. I like this layout overall. It's nice. I think by this point my enthusiasm with this book was definitely feigning. Like, the deco is quite minimal. I'm writing quite short entries. I think I was just so excited for the A6. December I didn't even do a mood board, I just seemed to not bother. Trip to York. We went went to a board game cafe, so this is just a scrap of paper that I'd written some of my answers on. There we go. And then on the notes page, so I've got the sort of astrological calendar here. That's semi-useful. I didn't reference this a lot, but I was glad to have it. Oh my goodness. I think I stuck those pages together, so that's why that's that way. Let's leave that alone. Tape swatches, a couple of pen swatches here. I think that's about it. I tried again, like thinking, oh, what if I did bullet journaling? What if I drew out my own grids? And I'm not good enough at maths at that, is the short answer. And then I don't think I really used, okay, yeah, there were a few of these pages I didn't use, but on the My 100, I track new media. So I tend to rewatch shows a lot, reread books quite often. And I was like, do you know what, it'd be good to see how much new media I engage with. And I use these dot stickers for the different types of media. So we've got books, films and shows, and albums. So a fair few films, and here's that like Halloween section where I'm watching a lot of films. An alright amount of books. I used to read a lot, and then it sort of faded for me, and then I'm actively reading more. And then a couple of new albums, but I'm very samey with music, so that tracks, you know. And then I think the rest of these are blank. Yeah. Oh, okay, gifts received. That was handy to keep track of. And then a couple of stickers. So these two are from Redbubble. This is from L'Amour Custom Tattoos. She's a tattoo artist local to me. And another Holly Ashby one as well. Oh, we've got a Lee sticker on the back here, Lee Alexson. And then this was from Holly Ashby as well. I don't think she made it, but it was like a freebie with some bits I ordered from her shop. That was mammoth effort. If you are still here, well done. I'm going to make shorter videos in the future, I think. I'm potentially going to do one for like, hey, it's the end of January. This is how things have gone so far. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye.